So this is going to be the end result. I like to show people at the beginning of the video where we're going to be going of what we're going to build today in Figma. And you're going to be able to scroll at the bottom, and you're going to have a little animation on ascending and descending sort on a column header. And we're going to build this table. So here we go. I thought I'd show y'all how to, or at least how I have found a way around making these tables fast and easy and easily editable. So with anything I do, I like to start with a frame of a certain size. So I'm going to work with the iPad Pro 11-inch. So in the prototype, I made sure that I set that as the device in portrait. And I set the background to white just because it's easier to see. And then I just grabbed some ready-made components from the material design kit. So I'm going to lock in the status bar at the top and a little bit of safe space at the bottom. And I just have, this should be the top of my app, the app bar, so to speak. And then, I'll leave the background white and just say I want to make some tables. This is like my sample that I'm kind of thinking of. But let's see. So I'm going to start with some rectangles. Let's see. Let's make them 48 high and 160 wide. And let's set that across. And what I often find is that the headers aren't all the same size, so I'll make them a couple different sizes. I'll make this one a little bit bigger, 240, and maybe I'll make this 161. I just copied these with Control D. So this one I'm going to actually make 88. Control D. Bring it back. And then how much space do I have to the end here? I got 98. Yeah, why don't we work with that? So Control D will give me another one. And I pop it out to 98. So then I've got a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 across the top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some text in here. Let's say header 1. And so I want to select that text and shift select that rectangle and horizontally align. And there we go, that's right in the middle. So I'm going to select that, Control C, select this rectangle, Control V. Oh, didn't put it there. We'll just pull it across. Call it header 2. Control C, Control V, pull it across. Header 3. Control C, Control V, pull it across. Header 4. Let's get that in as a header 5. And Control C, Control V, header 6. There we go. So that's like a real world type thing where these will probably be, you might want to make certain headers a specific size and then other ones fill in the rest of the gaps in their width. So And also sometimes you want to have a header that has a checkbox. All right, so I found it. Checkbox. Check. And I'm going to put it here. Sometimes you have a header that where it's going to be a selection. You're going to have a row where you can have selections. So I'm going to put it in. I'm going to put it in at 12 and make sure the header is 8 away. And let's see, how's this looking? There we go. That looks better. All right, so this will be my checkbox. These will be just information. All right, so now what I'd like to do is I want to select all this, which is the checkbox, the header, and the rectangle. I'm going to hit Control D, and I'm going to pull it down, holding the Shift bar, and click that right in here. And I'm just going to call this column 1. Then I'm going to hit Control D. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I want the whole bit of it. I'm not grouping anything just yet. Control D. Control D. All right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And actually, I am going to move these guys over. Back over here to 12. All right, and actually what I'm going to do is copy all that and move these. Copy all that, Control D, pull it down with Shift, and Control D, and then there it goes. Yeah, that's better. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. One more makes 8, so that's pretty nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'll keep the header with the dark gray, and I'll make this this rectangle white. Do I have that in here? I don't have my design style set up here, so I'll just do white. Here we go. And for the rectangle, let's see if this works. We can right-click, copy properties, and then right-click, paste properties, which is kind of helpful. So it's catching the property of the white for me and allowing me to change the rectangles, which I find useful. All right, that's pretty good. So now what I want to do is I want to select all this column and I want to group it. So Command G. And then I want to Control D. So I copied it, holding down Shift. Oh, let's try again. Maybe I didn't copy it. Let's see, Control D. Let's see, I just see one group there. Ah, there it is, Group 2, Control D. Holding down Shift, drag it across. Now remember this one. Oh, these are not the same size. Here we go. Boom. So this is 160, this header is 160, these columns are 160, these columns are 160, and of course, I'm going to change this to say column 2. And then I can right click on that, say copy, right click here, right click and say paste to replace. I think I can multiple do that, which is a relatively new feature. Oh yes, and that's very, very, very helpful. Now I want to Control D this group and Shift move it along. Boom. Hits right in. But now remember, this one was 240. Oh, you know what? I also don't want all these checkboxes either. So let me just remove those. Now let me see if I can multiple select. And then I'm holding down the Option key, hovering, and I see that's 14. And let's make it, it's actually more than 14. But let's make it 12. That way, things over here were 12 from the left side. Things over here are all 12 from the left side. And then, just to be quick, I will Control D and move this over. There we go. Now this header is with the 240. These are not in this group. So I go over to my left side panel, close these other groups so I don't get confused. I'm talking about this group here. First of all, let me change this to column 3 before things get confusing. Right click, copy, select the next one, right click, paste, replace. Multiple selecting, holding down the Shift key, right click, paste, replace. They're all column 3 now, but they're not the right. This column is not matching the header width. So, but I look over here, now this header width is 240. I can just grab all these rectangles here, grab the first one, Shift, grab the last one, go over to the right side panel and change the width to 240. Beauty. All right, because, you know, things are going to be different sizes. And I'm going to do the same thing over here now. Control D. And holding down Shift, drag it along. Oh, look what you did not do. You did not get the whole thing. Are these guys all together? Yep. Group 3. Must have just had the rectangles. Control D. Now I have group 4, but one's on top of the other. Holding down Shift, drag it along. And now I want everybody to be 88. So in group 4, open it up, expand it on the side. Using Shift, select all these rectangles, go to the right side panel, change this to 88, boom. And I believe this one was 88 also. Yep. I'm going to have to change the things, but for now, the names, let me just move it across. Boom. All right, so now header 4 should have column 4 items under it. I Control C and Shift select all these guys, right click, paste, replace. Boom. Now header 5 should have column 5 guys under it. Control C with that selected and holding down Shift, select, oh, not you, you. Select, 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 select. I'm holding down the Shift key, right click, paste, replace, boom. Remember, this one was the odd guy at the end, so 98. No worries, grab this group, Control D. This is now group 6. Holding down Shift, slider along, click into place. In my left side panel, open up group 6, select all those rectangles. I believe it was 98. See how I did? 98, yes. And now this needs to say column 6. Control C that. Select, 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 holding down the Shift key, right click, paste to replace. Beauty. All right, so now I'm going to make, holding down the Shift key, I meant to make these lighter. like 32. Yeah. Holding down the Shift key, double clicking on these rectangles. I think I put 32, yeah. Too far. Escape out of that. Okay, holding down the Shift key, double clicking on the rectangles to make sure I select them within the group. 32. And select that one. Double click, holding down the Shift key, and 32. Beauty. All right, so now I have myself a table, but I haven't invoked any of the auto layout. Just making sure these guys, you are not centered, are you? Let's double check. The centering. And great. Okay, that's better. Yeah, and the data is usually, the data I use is usually long, so I'm not going to center. I'll keep it like left aligned. It's going to be long, and a lot of times it gets truncated and it's dots and stuff. So I'm going to select. What I have found with auto layout is I need chunks of things. If I just auto layouted this now on top, and all these things would explode away from themselves. They would no longer lay on top of each other. So I'm going to select the checkbox and shift select the header and shift select the rectangle, and I'm going to make it a group. Select, group. Select, Control G, it's a group. Select header 4, select its rectangle with shift, Control G, it's a group. Select header 5, select the rectangle with shift, Control, it's a group. Select header 6, select the rectangle, Control G, it's a group. So now I have this group, this group, this group, this group, this group, this group. I mean, I can rename them to be like header 1. I'm trying to be, really neat and organized, which is a good thing. Header 2, I am not a typist. Let's see, your group 9, your header 3, and group 10, rename it to header 4, group 11, header 5, 6, header 6, beauty. Okay, now, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, I'm going to shift select these guys and right click and frame the selection. And now within this frame, I'm going to add auto layout, and for the padding, see, I'm going to move that there. It's fine the way it is. Packed is fine. I don't need any of this padding over here because of the way I have it set up. And I don't, right now I don't have any space in between. If I wanted to put space, I would say like 2. That would give me space, or 4, and that would give me space. That might be something I want to do for design later, but right now I'm just going to say 0. And what's really cool about that is if I go into design review and they say, you know what, we really want header 4 in front of header 3, I just move it and then just move, oh, I didn't do that yet. I didn't set that up yet. But anyway, once this is all set up with auto layout, I would just move that too. And, I've just made that design change, and it's all done and done. So now over here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, see, are these all groups already? Yeah, I think so. Group 1, Group 2, and you can always hit Option L to like close everything, which is really helpful. Group 1, Group 2, Group 3, Group 4, Group 5, Group 6. So it's like column 1, column 2, column 3, column 4, column 5, column 6. Boom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So same deal. Select these groups, right click, frame selection, and there are short keys for framing things. And then, you know, add the auto layout. Now, as I was saying before, if I want to move column 4 to be in front of column 3, move header 4 to be in front of header 3, you know, that design change is finished, it's completed. Some other design things you could do while you're doing this, if I double click in here, what I found effective is when I'm on this rectangle, so I can add an effect of a drop shadow with like a blur of 1 and a Y of 1 and have like a line. See that? So now if I right click on that rectangle and do copy properties and then right click, you know, double click all the way in here to make sure I'm on the rectangle and not the group, right click and paste properties, you know, boom, I get that nice line, which just helps with visibility, I think sometimes, you know, so I can, let's see if I can get them all. If I hit shift, double click in here, right click, paste properties. Yep, I got that nice line. And I just did that with the drop shadow effect, which is so nice because then we're using rectangles all the time, as opposed to having to draw actual rules or lines, which I find, you know, personally, very difficult to manipulate and move around. It's so much easier to just move my rectangles around. So, you know, just like that, I sort of made a quasi shadow, quasi line effect. You know, you can go through and add the effect here as well, maybe a blur of 1, and I'll do it look here. Let me see. So this rectangle, drop shadow, 1, 1. I do not know. But let's see. Let me see this. What if I go here and add a drop shadow and make it -1, blur 1, and I have it on the top, and 1, 1, and look at that. So I put a drop shadow at -1 on the top and at 1 on the bottom there. Now let me copy the properties of that rectangle and paste them. Do the same thing here. And paste them. Sometimes I double click too many times. I get into the vector editing. Right click, paste properties. You know, so just another way to start delineating so that you can see things a little better, you know, and then you can just play around with this. And what do I have going on here? put something on X? I did not. So, anyway, you can mess around with this and have it look the way you want. And then what I wanted to show you, which is really helpful in when you are doing demos, is, a lot of times in material design with tables, you can click on a header and you'll see an arrow up for sort by descending, or an ascending, or an arrow down for sort by descending. So I'm going to show you in the next part how you can add that animation here using variants. So now I'm going to show you how to do that animation for showing ascending and descending sort. So I go to fonts.google.com and I'm going to grab you can grab any arrow and just spin it, but so let me just grab this down arrow and I'm going to export an SVG. And then in Figma, I'm going to bring that image in. So in my downloads, arrow downward black. Here we go. So that's downward. And then I'm going to hold down the Option key and drag to make a second copy of it. And I'm going to call this one upward. So I'm going to rename it. All right, so now I've got arrow upward, as you can see here, and arrow downward. Now, let's say that header 2 needs to be sorted. So header 2, the rectangle, is 160 width. So I'm going to make a rectangle with 160 width, and the height was 48. All right, so, and I believe, yeah, it's the same color. So then I'm going to hold down Option, drag, create a second one, and a third one. So this will be the state when there is no sort. Oh, I never did spin this, did I? So I'm just spinning it around because I called it upward. It should be pointing upward. And I believe it goes up first. So I'm going to drag this arrow here, right click, bring it to the front. And I'm going to make sure I grab the whole frame of this icon. I see that it's centered in the rectangle, but how far is it from the side? So holding down Option 6, 7, 8. Let's make it 8 from the side. And I'm going to grab arrow down, put it on the other rectangle, right click, bring it to the front. Okay, that's centered in the middle of the rectangle, but how far is it from the side? Holding down Options, only 3. Add 5, we're going to make it 8. They're kind of big. What size are they? Are they 24/16s? Out to 24 padding. Okay, well, we'll see what it looks like. Anyway, I'm going to group this. Control G. I made that a group. Grab the arrow, grab the rectangle with the shift. Control G. I made it a group, and this is a rectangle by itself. So I'm going to click on this one, and at the top I'm going to say create a component. And this one, I'm going to select this group one, and I'm going to say create a component. And this one, I'm going to select with the down arrow and click here and say create a component. Then I'm going to select them all, and on the right, I'm going to combine as variants. So, I can just say sort. So here, when you see, I'm selecting this, and on the side description, what do we want to call it? natural state. No sort, perhaps, no sort. And this would be ascending. Am I spelling right? Yeah. And this one would be descending. All right. So now I'm going to click on the prototype tab because something's going to happen when I click. So when I click on this, on tab, it changes to this. When I click here, I go ascending, descending, and when I click again, returns to no sort. And that's how that usually works out in the wild. So now click back on design. So I am going to select this component. I am going to hold down Option and drag it outside of the component. So on the side you can see that this was the original component and this is a copy of it. So I want to replace, header 2 is going to be the sort. I want to replace this rectangle with this one that does the fancy thing when I click on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click on it, do Command X, because I just cut it. Make sure I'm all the way on this rectangle. I'm going to right click and say paste to replace. Boom. So let me see now if I can show that in a prototype. So I'm going to select this whole frame, hit prototype. I'm going to do a starting point. I just added a starting point, flow 1. Flow 1 is as good as any. So I'm going to run it. Let's see what we get. It's building, it's building, it's building. Here we are. So here we are in our iPad Pro 11-inch, and when I click, header 1, ascending, descending, off. Ascending, descending, off. You know, and then I obviously don't have it linked to these items moving because these are all generic, but you can get super fancy with it and actually have your data move about if you wanted to. Maybe I'll show that in another video sometime. But usually when I'm demoing this for people, they can pretty much get the gist of it. I'm like, you know, and these columns are sortable. And if I do that, they really get it without having to see all this move around. But up to you how much detail you want to go to. So let me click back and go here again. Now, let's say I want to put this down here, right? And say I want to really like bring it. You know what? Let me not do it that way. I'm actually going to just use the down arrow. And if I hold down Shift, it speeds it up a bit. But you can see now this table is still in this frame, right? Because I didn't like move it off the frame. If you look here, this frame 2 is still within sample iPad Pro 11-inch. I'm going to just close that. Okay. So here we are, sample. And frame 1 is our header. Frame 2 is our data. Right? Oh, that's that other thing I was looking at. Let me just move that out of the way for now so it doesn't confuse things. We're just here. We got a header. We've got data. Move the data under the header just because I like things to line up. I got my top app bar. Got my save space down at the bottom. And my Android status bar all the way at the tippy top. So say for some reason I have, I don't know, stuff going on up here. Got like, I don't know, like a lot of other things that are happening, like maybe a map. You know what? Can I pull a map in here? Let me go to one of my plugins. I use Mapsicle sometimes. And zoom that in, create a map. Boom. Yeah, so I have a map at the top. So the top of this part of this screen is pretty busy, but at the bottom I have this table. Maybe I click on something and the table shows up, and I want these columns to scroll. So let's see if I can do this live. So what I would like to do is select the map. Let's see. Oh, is this map? Oh, the map is in the top app bar. That'll never work. So I'm going to call this map. I like to keep things organized. My top app bar is pretty busy. My Android status bar, and I'm going to, on the right side, click Fix Position when scrolling. The top app bar, I don't want you to move either. Map, don't want you to go anywhere. Oh, look at you. You are not letting me. Oh, yes, you are. Fix position while scrolling. And the header for my data, I don't want you to go anywhere either because I want them to know what they're looking at. And the safe space down at the bottom, I want you to be fixed also. But this is going to scroll. So let's see what that looks like right now. What happens when we do that? So I try to scroll that, nothing is happening. So let me go back here. What I forgot to do was when I click on this whole frame, I have to remember to make sure this is vertical scrolling. Not so much this one. So I'm going to just say no scrolling on that one, on the frame. But on the whole frame, the sample iPad Pro 11-inch, we have vertical scrolling. This guy, I'm going to say no scrolling. Now, when I go to my prototype, you see how it's trying to scroll, but it's not moving up all the way. So a little thing I've started doing is I zoom in close, and what I want to do is I want to add some space to the bottom. So I want to make myself a rectangle. Right? And I want to be able to put it in here. What I want to do is I want to stuff this rectangle in here somehow. But if I Control Exit, select the frame, and Control V it, it's going to shove it to the side because remember I have these columns set up so that, remember this data frame auto layout is going this way, not this way, and the vertical is going horizontally. So let me Control X and paste that back over here. So one trick I can do is I can put this rectangle right up against that table, right? And I can take that data frame, I like to close things, and Shift select that rectangle and Control G it as a group. And I have this group here. But look, it jumped off my frame, my sample iPod. So I want to drag it back down. Boom. Oh, it's not letting me put it in the scroll, so I have to uncheck Fix Position while scrolling. Now it's in the scroll area. And then what I like to do is I double click on the rectangle and I zero out its fill, so it's invisible. Technically, it doesn't really need to be that big. Let's make it about that big. And sometimes you just got to keep eyeballing this. So now this whole sample iPad Pro 11-inch is vertically scrolling. Remember, the frame itself is not scrolling, the frame of data. And the header is obviously not scrolling, and it is fixed. So let's see what this does. Let's go to prototype and run it. So I got my map up top, my header. Ah, look at that. I can scroll the data. And I can click on that header and say I'm sorting. So that can be really helpful when you are when you're making, some presentations to show people, to really let them see what these interactions would look like. And, I'm sure there are like 25 at least other ways to do what I just did. But this is the way I've found to do it. And if you have an easier way to do it, something more elegant or just a different way to do it, whether it's you think it's easier or not, I don't care. I would love to hear about it. So please post it in the comments, because the more we pool our knowledge of this tool, Figma, which is fabulous, the better we'll all get. You know, the high tide raises all the boats. So thank you very much, and subscribe and like, please. Bye.